anybody's view.
Yeah, it's
That's
each other.
a haircut.
Even if you don't say anything, you know, we have shot.
You're on.
We're on.
We're on. Okay.
I mean, it'll go from, so
I think so.
inside the room,
Their camera's on, we're taking this.
All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and get started. We have a crowd of interested people here, and our aldermen. We're here for a workshop or an information session on the Proposition New Streets, which is a 7/8% sales tax, which will be voted on August 6th. And I'm just kind of the MC, I guess, but the idea was started back several months ago, and you know we had a vote, and we didn't make it by 24 votes, so we came back again, this time with a sales tax, not a property tax. We're going to explain the differences. Mark is going to give the explanation in just a few minutes, and alderperson, step forward.
Sorry.
No sitting in the back of the room.
Sorry, I'm late.
And you're on television, so you guys...
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Okay, so, and Bruce was the one that brought this up. Now, not to put Bruce on this, you know, the stage here, but he did, and he said, I think we need new streets, and there wasn't much discussion. I mean, we pretty much know we need new streets, and we haven't been able to figure out an easy way to get new streets. You know, no matter what we say, we can't come up with $8 million. So, Bruce, do you want to say a few words about the need or
Well, I think everybody is aware, all you got to do is drive around town and you will see that we are definitely in the need of the streets being redone. Like the mayor said, we discussed this some time ago, we went for the bond issue. And I guess I did not do my research. At that time, I believe we should have went for the sales tax that we're doing now. But I was under the impression that we were maxed out, that we couldn't go any higher than where we were at. And come to find out later that that was wrong. You know, going with the sales tax just seems to be a fair way for everybody to pay for this, not just the citizens of Herman. We have all the people that come on the weekends, even during the week, and stay and visit, and you know, they travel our roads. You know, it's just it's something that we need to take care of. You know, we are one very fortunate city. We're a small town to be as prosperous as we are. But, you know, one of my main concerns with my background with the fire department is, I don't know if anybody's ever rode on a backboard in an ambulance, but I can't imagine coming up 18th Street on a backboard when you're really hurting with all the bumps and so forth. So,
it's pretty rough.
yeah, it's just, it's something that we have to address somehow, and this is the simplest way that I think it can be done. And, you know, hopefully everybody will get behind it and we'll get her done. You know, thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. Mark is going to go over the chart and tell us about, do any of the other aldermen want to say anything about the sales tax item?
I will.
Idea? Okay.
As Bruce said, I don't think it's any big revelation to anybody our streets are in bad shape. I know we have a certain budget in order to pave the streets, and people want to know why that doesn't go further than what it does. It just so happens this weekend I sat down with some paving guys that do this for a living. And they actually explained it to me in layman's terms that even a dummy like me can understand. Years ago, Herman had dirt streets. They spread gravel on top of it. Later, oil and pea gravel. And then at some point they started paving. That's not how you lay a street and make it last. You have to have a solid foundation underneath it. The way they explained it to me was a sheet of glass laid on something solid. You can drive over it, walk on it, unless you hit it really hard, that glass is not going to break. You lay that same glass on something like a sponge, the minute you step on it, it's going to shatter, and that's what's happening to our streets. There is no underlayment under most of our streets. The reason we need this money is to dig these streets up and put that base under it, that solid base, so that when we pave these streets, they'll last. You won't have a street that's paved and starts breaking up in 2 or 3 years, sometimes not even that long. The water and sewer lines underneath them will be fixed before this starts. And then we're going to do it right. This money will go for that, 100% of it. Streets and curbs and gutters were applicable. Nothing else. Every penny of this money will go for that specific purpose, I guarantee it.
Any other alderman have anything? Well, Mark, why don't you, we don't have Todd this evening, he's got personal business to take care of. So Mark is gonna fill in for Todd and himself, and it's all yours. Mark.
Okay. Well, you know, we're back trying this again. The criteria we use hasn't changed. Same high traffic areas for streets, streets that need water main upgrades, and then we prioritize the streets based on these two charts. Over here you see the tax rate, just for your information. You see where we are currently out of these cities, number 8. If it passes, I should say when it passes, it will be number 5. So you see we're real competitive in that area. Really, all I can really say is I think Dave made a really good presentation. There are streets in town that don't need that completely dug out and replaced underneath the base. Some of them have a good foundation. Our first step, of course, is to do core samples and find out what's below the streets. If there's enough base, we can mill the street down and overlay it and be done with it. I think the last numbers we had from West Paving as sort of a guideline for us was about 36,000 and change to do a block of street. A 2-inch, an inch mill and a 2-inch overlay, I believe. So that would be 36,000 a block, and we have 22 miles. So if you want to do the math, it comes out to about $8 million to get all the streets done properly. The way this tax works, you know, when this passes, we won't have money the first year, but there are ways we can borrow money from ourselves and pay it back as those tax dollars come in to get started right away. I don't know if anybody, I guess you've seen these, kind of gives you a breakdown of what we're going to collect and how long we're going to collect it. And that's about that.
They can't see that, Mark.
They can't?
I don't think so, I think 450 bill, why don't you read it to me?
Sure. The sales tax will raise an estimated $450,000 a year and will sunset in 18 years after street repairs are complete. And Dave made another good point too. I think instead of just throwing a cosmetic cover over the streets, do it right this time. We never have to do this stuff again to this extent. Curbs and gutters, of course, will wear out over time, but if you have a good base, you can come back in 30 years and just mill it down and overlay it. You don't have to go to the extent of digging it all out, putting the rock in. That should be there forever. That's the whole plan, I think. If we're going to do it this time, let's do it right. The water mains, that's going to take some time. We have enough streets, I think, to get started and get a good start on paving as we replace water lines. So that's going to be a little logistical thing. We got to keep ourselves ahead of the water mains so we don't cover up something we have to come back and dig up later.
I think the other thing is that if this can be done before 18 years is up, it will stop.
If they
This
want
tax
to,
will
sure.
stop. If they want to, yes.
Great.
So it may not take 18 years, but it might.
Well, about how far will $450,000 a year get us in miles?
It depends on the extent of repair. If you're just going to do a simple overlay, a mill and overlay, it's looking, what would that be, about 15 blocks?
14 or 15 blocks, 15 blocks.
Yeah. And if you get more involved.
It's about 8 blocks to the mile,
Right.
so that's almost 2 miles.
Yeah.
Of good repaving, that where we don't have to go completely down below ground.
If you do the math at roughly 36,000 per block, we did about 11 blocks per year using influx from the sales tax. It's going to take a little bit longer. We had the big pool of money, boom, right now, we can get started, but we're going to have schools starting back up on the major streets and be able to do 4 or 5 blocks at a time, and then finish up that one long street, and then go to the side street.
As Todd mentioned too this afternoon before he left, Street repairs just have a, you just can't do that anytime during the year. It's basically April through October. And then once you're out of that fall season, it starts getting cold, you're not gonna do any paving. So it's, you have to hit the ground running when you're ready to go.
I think there's a couple things also that Jesse brought up to me and told me to say. He said, make sure you tell people that it's not good to repave everything in the first year or two. That's not good. He said, the situation we're in now is everything needs to be repaid to some extent, everything, almost every block. But he said, should we phase this in over 18 years? At the end of 18 years, we won't have everything that has to be repaved again. We'll just have a little bit that we can hopefully pay for out of operations in 18 years, and we won't have to have the sales tax continue on. So he said he wished he had that with the electric company, because the first 3 or 4 years, they repaired everything. And now, it's almost long enough where that stuff is gonna need, some of it's gonna need to be worked on again.
I think his example were the poles, they were all replaced in the early 90s, and now they all need to be replaced again. So you're getting that, instead of phasing it in, you're getting it all at once. That's a good point.
And a couple of other things I think that Mark touched on is that it's a sales tax. So the first month, we'll start to accumulate money, and the state pays us. I think they're a month behind, or a month and a half behind, and they'll start paying us sales tax money. And we won't get $450 in one lump sum. We're going to get it every month. And so that's one thing we have to wait. The winter months, we aren't paying anyway, so we just accumulate it in a fund where it can only be spent for streets. So that's all good. We don't have to borrow money on a bond, so we have no bond. We don't have to make a bond payment. There's no mortgage like house payment you have to
There's
make.
no interest.
There's no interest because we didn't borrow anything. So all the money that we collect is going to go into the streets. We're not bonding, we're not borrowing, we're not doing anything like that. And so it's a real clean situation. And anyway, that's a couple things I think that are kind of important. I don't know if there's anything over there else, Mark, but or anybody else that you can think of.
I think, once again, we probably need to reiterate the fact that our 8.1 sales tax, currently Herman gets 2%. The other 6 goes to the state and the county. So that, all that 8.1 does not come to the city of Herman. That's something that people may have a misconception about.
I think so we'd end up with what, 3 cents? per
About,
se?
just about.
Yeah.
2% plus the 875, so it's 2.875, almost 3%.
So could we see like some action of some sort, say like in the spring? Would you anticipate there might?
I think if this would pass in August, I think we'd have-
I mean, something, maybe not streets necessarily getting repaid, but at least some progress.
Some
Sure.
more sampling and that
Yeah.
kind
Oh,
of thing,
absolutely,
would you
yeah.
say, if it has to be done?
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah, I think there's some stuff we can do. Mary?
And I think we need to clarify one thing. Yeah, it does get up close to 3%, but not all of that is for the streets.
No,
It's 2%.
no.
Okay, all right, just want to make sure that that was clear. that
Right,
Yeah.
no,
The streets is only the sales tax increase.
exactly right. Exactly right.
We have
So-
a 1 cent sales tax for the streets now, we're gonna add.
And the 1 cent sales tax is used to pay for all the salaries of the street department and the equipment we use,
That's right, I'm sorry, it's half cent.
half cent.
1 cent's a general fund.
And it's used to pay for the salaries of the street department, any equipment, gas, oil, and the salt and the cinders and all the stuff and any overtime they have because of floods and all kinds of stuff like
By
that.
the time that is divvied out, I think Todd has about $130,000 a year to spend on.
22 miles of streets.
Yeah.
So
Which is
there
a
just
lot.
isn't any way to make it work.
We never catch up, anyway.
No, we tried, the aldermen tried every which way. We looked at everything, we turned things over, looked under them, and there's no way to come up with $8 million. It just isn't. So anyway, I don't know,
I think your point is correct, though. I think if we pass this in August, we should be able to start work as soon as the spring. Some preliminary planning, some core sampling, depending on how much money's in the fund, maybe start some paving, I don't know.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
We also have engineering we can do.
Mhm.
And we do need to have quite a bit of engineering on 18th Street, and there's other places where engineering can be done almost immediately. And we even have some funds, I think, available that we can use to start some of the engineering. So that gets us ready to the point where we build up a reserve and really kick it off in the spring. And the more we can do that are similar streets, the more similar blocks that just need the inch mill and 2 inches of asphalt and so forth, the lower the price should be from West. In fact, they said it would be lower, or whoever gets the bid. Where it's going to go through a normal state bidding process where we make a spec for these particular blocks in the city. There's this process, and these particular blocks is going to require another process. And we'll bid it out, and the lowest and best bidder is going to be awarded the contract. And the more they have to do, the cheaper it's going to be per foot or per block, because they can bring the equipment and people in and all the trucks in at one time and do it once instead of doing a block or something every year or 2 blocks a year. So that's important too to understand, I think.
But when this passes in August, the actual tax will go in starting January, correct?
I'm not sure about that. Is it correct? Okay.
From August, rest of the year, we won't have access to building a fund. Starting in January, then the 7/8 would start accumulating.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay. Good. Mark, do you have anything else? Did Todd give you any secrets to tell us about how this would work?
No, he's, Todd's passionate about the streets. He takes them personally. He really works hard at working with what he's got. They're more or less a maintenance crew. They're not really a paving crew, and they just try to keep the roads passable until this gets through. Mike, you have a question?
Yeah, my question was, is there something that we're doing wrong? Do we have order equipment that's tearing it up in the winter? Are we doing something wrong to cause some of the damage to the street?
If we are, just because there's no base under that street, Mike, if there's heavy equipment on those streets and they're cracking up, it's probably because there's probably this much asphalt and then mud.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure there wasn't anything that we were doing too wrong that was damaging the streets too.
No, we got a lot of traffic through town. You see all the trucks all the time. And a lot of that's on the MoDOT's highways, but we still get it, how they come up here to Freddie and Comars.
And we got a lot of truck drivers driving through. That's a lot of weight running our streets.
That's right.
People's got to understand, this was an old cowboy town,
Yeah, we got to do it right. That's why we're going to do it right this time, so those streets will hold up for that heavy traffic.
Does anybody have any other questions? Alderman, do you have any points you want to make? Mayor?
This is more directed to Susan. I understand you have a Facebook page that you created. Is that not true?
Oh, for the streets?
Streets.
There is a street one.
Okay. Is there any way we could get that more public? I'm speaking for myself personally, not anything else. But
I
I'm
think
just thinking
all of
it's
us
a great
aldermen,
idea.
have we all shared it? We could share it on our own personal pages.
Yeah, because I think, people don't want to get out in this hot weather and go to a meeting, but they maybe, Google that, if we get it in the newspaper or something, so that people have an opportunity to see and read some of the comments that are being made, or see the pictures that are out there, and help them understand a little bit.
Yes, and I plan on my own alternate page. I put something this weekend about how I had a tire pop because there was this much street and then the gutter was down here and I overcorrected because I felt myself go down and I popped my tire. And somebody else had happened to on 6th Street too, they popped the tire, so.
Yeah.
It's not my
driveway.
There you go.
In fact, I think our sister's having a contest right now for the biggest pothole. If you have a picture of that, that you particularly care about, just take a pic, send it in, and you could win I don't remember what it is now. I think it's a
Gift certificate.
gift certificate to one of the coffee shops. So
And then these signs, don't we leave these out in the lobby that people can come and look whenever if you have a free minute, come and just look at the maps, look at the proposition, how it works, at our rates that we pay now. So just come and look at it, ask us. Are we going to have another meeting?
No, this is the only one.
Darn.
Last time we had two, the first one was well attended, the second one wasn't. Everybody seemed to get their information that they wanted the first time. We had less time this time, so we'll have this, and I might also add that it's only about a month to the election, and that absentee balloting ends in about 2 weeks, the 25th, I believe. So if you or your mother or your father or your aunt or uncle or somebody wants to vote, they have 2 weeks to ask for a ballot and get it in and get it back. So that's enough time for anybody that really wants to do it. And so that's, last time we didn't make much of an effort on the absentee ballots, but we didn't get much of a turnout. So this time, anybody knows anyone, you can go on the clerk's page, the county clerk, or Susan's sister on her website tells you how to get a ballot and how to vote it and how to what to do with it to make sure you get a vote.
I'll say something to Jenny at the Green Valley and have her get in touch with somebody to come up there.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah,
That would be great.
And if somebody needs a ride to the polls, let somebody know. Let us know. I'll find you a ride.
yeah.
Yeah, if we put people up there to vote, I think it'll pass without any problems.
I think so too. I think a lot of people forget those folks, and they shouldn't be forgotten because they've been a part of this community for a long,
I know
long
that
time.
they're voting.
They still have a lot of
They do
interest.
come up.
One
Go
thing-
vote and go out to lunch with them.
One thing about this, I think, is that not only is this important, but for us, but for our kids and grandkids too, because these streets will be around for a long time. We're going to do them right. And in the future, the only thing that you really need is that upper crust to be replaced, taken off and replaced, but not the whole 15 inches or 12 inches or whatever of underlayment. So the expense is much, much, much less, and we should be able to handle it that way. But our kids and grandkids will get benefits too.
We need just a simple majority on the vote. Where with the property tax, it was like, what, 57%?
57%.
This time, if we get 51%,
We just need 50% in one vote.
Yeah, I just as soon have about 90%.
All right?
I mean, I want people to say they want to do this.
Absolutely.
You don't want half the people deciding what the other half of the town's going to do. I mean, everyone needs to get out and vote.
Yeah. You have anything?
I'm just going to say that the mayor's point with the streets being good for 20 years or so, Todd and his street crew have a process of preserving streets once they're good with it's a reclamite or a CRF process that seals the streets. You can't do it to our current streets because they're too busted up. But once they're repaved, this is a very inexpensive process and it should add years to this project. So I think the actual lifespan of these streets may be a little bit better with proper maintenance after they're done. Just want to add that.
Does anyone else have questions? Any comments? Anything you want to know? We have some handouts up here. Some people got them. And we can hand those out too. Please pick one up. You want to take some with you? Take some with you. And
Yard signs?
we have, I'm not going to talk about that right now. But there's a group, I think it's called Committee for Better Streets,
Citizens for Better Streets.
Citizens for Better Streets.
You can look it up on Facebook.
And they have, you can get yard signs and so on there. So I appreciate everybody coming, and Mark, good job, and anybody else, any of the, Dave, okay? Well, thank you very much. Come up if you want to and ask any questions you were too bashful to ask.
I don't think anybody was too bashful here.
No, it was very good.
I think it was very good.
Thank you for coming, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Built a lot of rooms, and that's house, the White House.